Why do people want to make an ashtray out of a hand? I'm Mike and I run Ethical Retreats. We host our retreats in Africa. I was applying to work across South Africa, into Namibia, Botswana, and held the wrong passport. You start to question yourself about whether you can carry on. On Instagram, within 5 months, I grew that channel to 8,000 people.
Oh, wow.
The future looks big and scary. Stay persistent.
Hello, we're here with another episode of Vision to Venture, and today I'm sat down with Mike from Ethical Retreats. Looking forward to the conversation, Mike. I'll get you to introduce yourself in a moment. For those who are watching, Mike was lucky enough to win a guest spot on the channel from Expert Empires down in Wembley a couple of weeks ago, and it's amazing to actually get you on the show, because there was a massive lead up to that, and we had to spin the wheel with 200 odd people on there for somebody to win it, and you were the lucky winner. So, good afternoon, Mark.
Thanks, Neil. That was an amazing time to actually win that prize. I'm happy to be here, and my name's Mike Calder, and I'm the founder of Ethical Retreats.
So, Ethical Retreats.
Ethical Retreats.
Just tell the audience, what is Ethical Retreats first?
So my background is I'm a safari guide. The focus is about being as ethical as we can be in life, and we want to bring guests to Africa that will experience African wildlife in the best ethical way that they can.
So we'll slow down a little bit. Yeah. So Africa is where you do this work.
Yeah, Africa.
Because when you said safari guide, I'm thinking, Dudley Zoo, or what are we talking about? Yeah. So out in Africa, wow.
Yeah, so I trained in South Africa back in 2014, and this is just a continuation of that journey and actually a childhood dream.
Okay, well, let's go back to that moment, and let's just take me back to that childhood dream. What was the dream, and what was that moment that really made you sort of head down this path? And then we'll talk more about Ethical Retreats as we get into it. What was that one little moment?
I think it would be looking back at the family photo album. My parents had been living in Africa on and off in different countries before I was born, obviously. So when I was then flipping through the old family album and seeing the black and white images of
your mum and dad.
Yeah, of mum and dad and older brothers and sisters, and just seeing the zebra. You're going, what's this white and black stripy horse? And, there's moments like that where you sort of think back to that was probably a very easy way to access the idea of wildlife that looked very different to what we had seen in the UK, other than sheep and cows.
And it was a very different era then. You hadn't got the social media. And yeah. I remember similar looking at my dad. He was in the army out there. He was a dog handler. And he was out in Kenya. And I remember looking over and seeing a picture of my dad and his dog Jake in an old family album, just the same, and flicking through and seeing a picture of the equator and saying to Dad, well, what the hell's the equator? What is that? And it's like that era was very, very different. So sort of how old were you there when you had that moment?
I think it's definitely under 10. I could sort of say another few moments are a bit more clearer in the memory. I remember picking up Wilbur Smith books. He wrote a lot about sort of the adventure stories in Africa. I was about 10 then at that time. And then 2 years later, I was watching Gorillas in the Mist by Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, yep.
And that was probably been the biggest influence of what I wanted to do and to work with animals.
So was that the moment that you decided, I want to set up a business, or was that more about curiosity at first about the animals and then more around, I want to work with animals?
I think it's more around I wanted to work with animals, probably not in the business idea at that time, and then over the years at school, I also wanted to perhaps explore being a dog handler.
Oh.
And obviously with that aging process, between 10 and 20, you're going, yeah, I would love to do that. You're watching a documentary on TV narrated by David Attenborough and going, wow, that looks amazing.
So it's really about the passion for animals.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a passion, and also actually from seeing the topics brought up in Gorillas in the Mist with the poaching of the gorillas, making an ashtray out of a hand, and you're just sort of going,
Yeah, okay.
why do people want to make an ashtray out of an animal's
this
hand?
is the ethical side of your idea starting to form.
Yeah, so the passion to protect wildlife became the driver.
So you trained as a safari guide. What sort of age were you when you were doing that training? This was obviously before your idea of a business, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, I wasn't thinking of a business at the time, but back in 2014, that was when I had gone out to South Africa to train. And I remember back at the time talking with those that were going to train me, what is the outcome of this qualification? Will I be able to get employment here or employment in another African country?
Because obviously, I'm thinking because of what you just said that you hadn't really shaped what the future might look like. You just wanted to go out there and be trained as a guide.
I think I wanted to work with animals. That's sort of the evolution of thinking about working as a dog handler. And of course, dog handlers are out in Africa and very crucial to the anti-poaching units. So I knew I wanted to work with the animals, and I wanted to explore the ways that I could work in the industry. As my trainer said, where there's a will, there's a way.
So after your training, what did the future become then?
I was applying to work across South Africa, into Namibia, Botswana, and the applications were often stopped right there at that moment.
Oh, really?
Held the wrong passport, which is understandable, to employ citizens that already live in that country. So I was then looking at it going, like, how can I now continue this journey?
So you got these blockers that are in your way, but it sounds to me like you're like a lot of entrepreneurs that you're not going to let those blockers stop you. You're going to try and find a way to work around them. So what was that way?
So the way was, well, I'm going to go and set up my own company and take clients to South Africa or Namibia, wherever I could, on my own steam, and we go from there.
So that was really the first spark of the idea for the business.
Yeah, that's when you start committing to a step, it formed something that was.
Yeah, that's when you, I guess, just listening to you, that's when you really sort of got your sense of direction. Yeah, you actually had blockers in your way, but that moment got you the sense of where you wanted to go. Is that right?
Yeah, those blockers at the time seemed very, very in your face. You're not going through this way.
Was that the most frustrating part at the time? Having that passion and having those blockers. What was that? Was that real?
Yeah, I think it brought to the fore in my mind that this was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't just passion anymore. It was perhaps more purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
Where drawing back in the old memories of watching Gorillas in the Mist, and the fact that was the first time I sort of really made a connection between people poaching animals and somebody saying, no, we can't employ you for whatever reason. It was like, okay, now I've got to try and make this my journey more and the destination I want to achieve.
Yeah. So this really is the start of the ethical retreats idea. This is the beginning of that journey. So I talk a lot in Vision to Venture about firstly identifying the problem you're trying to solve, and I think I'm hearing that there's some clarity starting to shape around that now. Yeah. The next is who you're solving that problem for. Who are those customers? How do you build that audience? How do you get connected with them? What did that look like for you in those early days? How did you actually start building that audience and thinking about who are the people that I'm going to serve? What is the problem actually solving here?
Yeah, so the problem I was solving then was, I wanted to bring more funding into safari destinations to protect the wildlife. So I took to social media, took to Instagram, Facebook, and grew the awareness of me. So on Instagram, within 5 months, I grew that channel to 8,000 people.
Oh, wow.
In just 5 months. So I was like,
and
wow.
That's hard to do.
It is.
And how did you do that? I need the formula.
It was not using ads, put it that way. It was just real authentic connections. And then what I learned from that was I wasn't putting enough call to actions and enough steps for me to attract
So that
the better audience.
So was that Instagram really feeding just stories about Africa and animals out there, more with less purpose than actually starting to get a business going?
No, so back then, Instagram was very much about photos,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was investing the time in making a decent worded scripts
Yeah.
of what you saw in the photo. But yeah, that's actually evolved into the reels.
Yeah, it's moved on away now, hasn't it? As soon as video started coming along, reels are the way now. So back then, this was photographs with some sort of call to action around them that was, from what you were saying, maybe a bit limited in terms of the call to action.
Yeah, there wasn't a clarity in the call to action. What did I want the viewer of this to do? Whether that's to reach out, direct message, or just
so you're still really in this early stage, trying to still define, who that customer is, how you draw their attention, where they are. You're obviously using it's not YouTube, sorry. You're obviously using Instagram because that's the channel where you believed your audience were at the time. So continue the journey on then. So you got this good following in Instagram. It's grown quite significantly.
It grew
really.
very well within. I think I set up my Instagram account in November 2015.
Yep.
And I think the next real part of the journey was you had the events of 2020 that suddenly went. No, we're gonna have to pause a little moment here.
Oh, so we're into COVID now.
Yeah,
is that right? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, that was the COVID era. And
so, just before you got into that COVID, where was the business at that point?
I'd done a number of trips with people, and things were looking okay.
So you'd taken some people out to Africa on retreats, and you were starting to sort of. Were you in that sort of still in those sort of early startup phases? You were
Very
still,
much so, yeah.
You were still. And what sort of feedback did you have from the people you took out there?
They really enjoyed the wildlife that we got to see and the information that I could get across to them of what they were actually seeing. So rather than just saying, "Oh, there's a giraffe," the comments would be more about what the giraffe was doing, what we're experiencing at the time, and how we would interpret that information as a behavior of the animal.
So this is more a learning experience.
Yeah, definitely. I've always thought of it as you've got David Attenborough narrating in the car for you.
Oh yeah. So it's very, very personal.
Yeah.
Touch too. So what did you learn in those early days then of taking people out there? Just before we talk about what COVID did and where you.
What I learned, you definitely got a market for it.
Yeah.
There was a demand to experience.
So, if I read this right, you've got the business idea, you've worked out how you can make this, commercialise it and make it a thing. You then make it a thing. You actually got some good traction, on your socials, but actually getting customers to lean into you and getting that messaging right, that's the piece of the jigsaw that was kind of not quite right at the time.
The right messaging wasn't chosen. So I could quite easily get 1,000 people hitting a like on a photo, but it's
converting
that like to another conversation.
Let alone a financial transaction.
Yeah, let alone a transaction.
Yeah, okay. So you talked then about the big hit from COVID. That sounds like it came at a critical moment, like you were starting to build traction, and then bang, in comes this world event that sort of stopped travel, essentially.
Yeah, COVID definitely did stop travel. And it also stopped, not just for myself, but other people, the lodges and safari guides in South Africa or wherever would also be affected by that. So it wasn't just somebody trying to deliver it; it was somebody that was actually.
Yeah, it's the whole ecosystem that you were trying to, the thing you're supporting. The whole thing just fell apart, really. So what? So during that period, what happened and what did you learn?
Well, what happened is you start to question yourself about whether you can carry on, be thinking quite negatively too often, going how can you see an outcome of this? Because lockdown looked like it was going to be forever.
Yeah, it didn't seem like there was any end to it. Yeah. I was in Australia at the time. And
you're sort of going month after month and, you're not even able to have a conversation like this, being sat this close to somebody, and you're starting to wonder where
I remember those early days in the COVID period running business, and we were fortunate over in Australia that the government helped. But for us, with as a consultancy, we could go, we just jump onto Teams and switch the business online. For actually what you do, it actually stopped it dead, didn't it?
It stopped it dead. I had a background as a chef as well, so that was also another industry that sort of got stopped in its tracks.
Okay. This was a backup plan.
Yeah,
could have been.
So I couldn't fall back on a backup plan.
Yeah, because that's not there. So that must have been really tough for you. And I think, as business owners, everyone looks up to us and says, "Oh, life's great for you. You're running this great business," and people don't see, what happens behind the scenes in these tough moments. Because whilst COVID was a huge thing, there's lots of tough moments that come along in business that really, I guess, they get you to question yourself and your purpose and whether should I even do it. I actually remember we were 14 months into our business, Chris and I, over in Australia, and we'd made $5,000 in 14 months to feed his family and mine, and we're going, I wonder if we should go and work for McDonald's. Is there a better way? Why have we done this? We've done this to try and get out of the corporate life for me, to build a better thing for our families for the future. And we really questioned whether we'd done the right thing, but we actually didn't stop. We carried on, and clearly you've carried on, applying that resilience and working and problem solving and finding out, well, why is this happening? How do I get through this? So what was those steps for you then? We're in COVID. How did that turn out in the end?
Well, I think I searched to try and keep myself sane. So I reconnected with my safari training school in South Africa, drawing on my background of the success I had with the Instagram account. I sort of doubled down onto the SEO of websites a little bit, and I then started to consult for the trainer in South Africa and getting their website positioned better.
Okay. So you've gone from those moments of, it must have been pretty lonely when your business is stopped and you're not connected with those people. And that must have felt pretty awful at the time. How did that loneliness feel?
The loneliness is laugh about it at the moment, but it's quite a dark place to go to.
Yeah.
When you're looking forward 6 months, 8 months, and it's just looking bleak, and you're going, wow. No sooner have I started a dream life, a dream sort of job, you're going, okay.
And I guess it's also stopped your purpose, hasn't it? If your purpose is really about, part of what you're doing is to protect the animals into the future, suddenly your way of doing that through running the retreats has stopped too. So that must have been a real punch in the guts.
Yeah, definitely. When you start to go, well, if you can't make a sale, then there's no money that goes to support the causes of animals out there.
Somehow through that, you've pivoted now. You've gone, well, okay, you've got through that time. Something in you has been strong, and you've got through that time and gone and worked out a way of actually still supporting out there by helping them revamp their message to an audience ready for when COVID lifts. You're doing that work on websites. How did you come about that moment of pivot? What was it in you that thought we can do something different?
Good question. I think it might have been doom scrolling at the time, but you suddenly find a way to see something that you can help with. So it wasn't just about the safari guide trainers that I worked with, but other wildlife charities. I was like offering my support for their messages as well, and trying to certainly raise donation during a very difficult period.
Yeah. So what pushed you through that moment? What pushed you through all of this?
I think that's the purpose.
The purpose.
The purpose there is you're suddenly going, well, okay, it's not working out the way I intended it, but we're going to stick with this direction.
And then obviously COVID started to lift, travel started to, I'm not going to say become normal again, because it was a slow back to normal, wasn't it? What we call normal now. It was a slow, certainly I know from my perspective, Australia was one of the last to open up.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah, and it was, because we were struggling. We wanted to get back and see family, and it was really difficult at that time. So how did that pan out then in terms of the getting the retreats running again?
Very slowly is the answer. I didn't jump straight back into it either. I decided that period had actually put some things into the foreground for me to work on first.
Yeah, okay.
The mindset wasn't strong enough for that period. I think I thought I'd look into coaching and seeing who could coach me to be
So
better.
through the COVID, you decided I need to do some work on myself, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
Which we all do. I still do it today. I've still got a business coach today.
Getting the mindset in the best position first and foremost was before I could even start to consider the next step. I think I got the opportunities there to change my mindset, to perhaps also not believe everything that I heard. Obviously, there's a lot of people that had that mindset during COVID anyway, not wanting to listen to what they were being told about.
So what sort of things did you do when you're on about working on mindset? What sort of things did you do in that space? I think it's important for a lot of business owners to look at themselves. I know I've invested heavily over the last 2 years in myself. Coming to a new country, don't know anybody here because I've been away for a while. Spend a lot of time investing on me. What sort of things did you invest in?
Both business and mindset, in a way. Seeing what I wasn't very good at with the marketing side of things. So that was also, it betters your mindset when you go, okay, I was making wrong choices then. Now I've got some answers, which gives you a better confidence for going forwards.
Yeah. So it's really a mix of two things.
Mix of everything. Yeah.
Mix of yourself, trying to get yourself more confident and into a space where your mind's right to push the business forward, and also sounds like you spend a bit of time just looking at those learnings. So fast forward to today, then what is an ethical business retreat for you? What does that what is it that you actually what is it you actually do out there?
So try and put this as succinctly as possible. It's a win for wildlife. That's going back to my purpose. For a business, you are then having an outcome that you're after, which if you're, say, a corporate, then you're going to want to retain staff, invest in their own mindsets, invest in them overall. If you're more inclined to bring clients with you, then you've got a great springboard to have your clients stay with you and keep nurturing that relationship across many more years other than just the there and then.
So you're taking people in business who really are looking for a mastermind style retreat. You're connecting that with wildlife and your purpose in terms of bringing them all together to get a better outcomes for employees. That's essentially what you're doing. So how did you actually come up with this idea? It's brilliant. The whole connecting the mindset and performance and the outcomes of an organisation with nature is like quite unique.
It is very unique, and that's why it's kind of evolved from just taking the tourist out to Africa. And I sort of think about the career I've had in my past where I was a chef and I used to train people to become chefs. And from there, I went to China and taught English as well. So that gave me some knowledge about how people learn. And then, of course, from just being coached over the recent years, you're starting to understand that there's an opportunity here where people will be benefiting wildlife, but also benefit from being connected with nature. And I think using some of the skill sets I have and then interpreting that to the benefit of a client now is worth a lot more than it was as a tourism guide.
Yeah, okay. Because it is like the tourist market is probably quite saturated in that space. I would imagine. I mean, I don't know. I've never been there. I've seen the brochures.
There's established players throwing.
So what problem are you really solving for people then?
with the people that want to bring clients with them. We're going to solve trying to keep that client retained for the future.
So this is businesses actually taking out clients for a retreat
Yeah, they
as
could
well.
take out their own clients. You know,
So it's not just their own employees; it's clients as well.
Teams, clients. It's if you want to work on having a longer term success in a business or in your teams, then this is the best way that you can actually have some results of keeping people that feel seen and heard in your team as a client, and you will
to build that together,
build that longer lasting relationship.
So what about the ethical side then? You know, in terms of what do you want to leave after an event's happened over there? What is it that you're trying to leave ethically over in Africa?
I think a system that benefits people that surround the communities of where these wildlife are found, where the wildlife's found, you know, because without supporting the communities, not just the animals, but without supporting the communities that live in that area, either with education and schools and...
See, my mind goes to, you know, all these big travel companies who are taking people out there, you know, that will be having an impact in those communities because it's putting money out there, but it's in a different way to where you're sort of angling, I feel. You know, they're just paying people to have...
They're paying for an experience and perhaps the depth of thinking of how long term that experience can be sustainable for on the market. Isn't that foremost of their mind?
Whereas your real point of difference is that you're giving back to that community and to the wildlife, and it's that bit that is your real mission, your real purpose. So if you were to, obviously, this has been quite a journey for you. We're not that far from COVID, really, from getting, really, when you look at the travel industry and getting holidays back and running. We've only been going a few years, really, since all of that's come apart. If you were to look back now at all of that journey, what's the one thing you would tell to your younger self starting out?
Stay persistent.
Well, you certainly did.
I mean, that's
you certainly did.
But I mean, that even, you know, means about on the social media side of things. So, you know, when you're suddenly hitting COVID and you're starting to see what feels like a dream is closing down, then you stop showing up every day in the same way that you had been doing months and weeks before. You know, I know that I didn't stay consistent on social media. I didn't keep on.
It's hard. It's hard sometimes to keep that. You know, you got to be purposeful. This is what I often say. You got to be purposeful, and you've got to be persistent, and you've got to be professional. And if you keep those three things flowing, you'll do well. Yes. So, what's the next thing for ethical retreats? What does the future look like?
For me, the future looks big and scary. You know, I don't want to reveal everything right now, but the growth of this idea is what I'm hoping the world picks up on. And, you know, I think when people start to realize, say competitors start to realize what we're talking about, then they're actually doing the same thing and we have a net effect.
And I think, you know, you look at today and businesses today, they're very much more in tune to corporate social responsibility than they were years ago. Very, very much, you know, whether you're looking at carbon footprint and planting trees or offsetting your carbon on aeroplane flights or whatever that is, people are a lot more attuned to actually giving back today.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing that's just around the corner is how we're going to view AI in business and how we can make our own use of AI more meaningful, more impactful. We've already seen the ways that it can be used in medicines and you know, just extrapolating that data and, you know, going, well, this works and this doesn't work. And I think to keep your clients happy in whatever business you're doing, I think they will want to see you being ethical as a business owner.
Yeah.
An individual can, you know, offset carbon by planting a tree, but, you know, how can you do that as a business going forward into an ever AI heavy world? It's
amazing how we're going from talking about animals to AI.
Yeah.
Isn't it? But it is showing you how it's impacting everything that you do. So what's the one word that would sum up your journey?
Eventful.
Eventful.
Yeah. I think that's it, eventful.
Oh, that's brilliant. So a couple of quick questions. Favourite book or quote?
When the Lion Feeds by Wilbur Smith.
When the Lion Feeds. That's very apt
Yeah.
for you. Very,
Definitely.
very apt.
It's crucial at the beginning of the journey, I think. Yeah, definitely.
And what's the one habit that's kept you going as a founder?
Being mindful.
Yeah, okay.
That's definitely something that's come to the fore in the last 4 to 5 years. You know,
Well, it's been an absolute amazing chat with you. And I absolutely wish you all the best on your journey. How can people reach out to you, Mike?
I will give you a QR code that,
And we'll
we
pop
can
it on the
a
video.
That's
Yep.
probably the best way.
Yep, no problem. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Come and join our community. There's lots more great content coming out. Thank you for your time, Mike, and I wish you all the best with your beautiful ethical purpose and your mission to help save Africa.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.